talk about how we've been using this GoodReader software in our lectures and for studying. And we made a video for you guys to kind of, we're going to kind of talk you through the kind of details how this process kind of works for us. So the first step in this process is to get GoodReader on a mobile device like an iPad or an iPod Touch or an iPhone. It's an app that's available through the Apple iTunes Store, the App Store. I have personally, I own an iPod Touch, and that's something that I use a lot in lecture. That I started out using, just seeing how this PDF annotation might work in real time. Me sitting in class with the lecturer talking, as opposed, and see if I would lose anything as if I compared it to my note-taking habits with respect to pen and paper. And I've noticed that there are some really interesting differences, some that we'll highlight in here, but that it really engages you when you have software when you have software like this. It really asks you to focus in on what's being presented in lecture because you're looking at diagrams, you're very engaged, it's very fun to interact with, and you can leave notes and you can change colors of highlights. There's a lot that you can do with just the touch of your fingers, which we're going to demonstrate right here. One of the things that's critical for this software to kind of work is to one, incorporate the device or the material that you're going to edit. You can download from the internet. Here we show an example where you can sync with an online. So you can sync with like SharePoint. You can access SharePoint through Safari on the web browser here. You can download PDFs from Safari. Or from SharePoint. You get an option to open in GoodReader. You can open here, and they're going to show up in My Documents. And then you can open them, you can read them, you can annotate them. And it's not just SharePoint. If you wanted to go to PubMed and you have a link to a link to an article, you can open it in GoodReader. You can also access files from an online storage server. Here we have an example shown with Dropbox. So when you can sync this program with your Dropbox. And here we have an example of the synced Dropbox. This individual is loading an Immunology Week 1 lecture. So you can see all of your files that are available on a cloud server online. You can initiate download of this file. Download's pretty quick. It goes really fast. And this is real time. This isn't sped up. This is really fast. And files downloaded. It's available for view here. And here's an example of all of the servers that you can sync with. You have a mobile Me IDIS. You can sync it with your email, where it'll actually farm your email for attachments. So if you had a PDF attachment that you wanted to look at on your email, you can actually open it in GoodReader. You can annotate it, you can save it, you can upload it again, you can email it later. You can sync it with Google Docs. We've already shown Dropbox. Something we're trying to work on here is seeing if we can get it synced directly with SharePoint, with the web dev server that SharePoint does have. So that there are a number of really amazing avenues you can take this with respect to accessing documents. And it's not just a device that's locked into a Dropbox corner. You can use Google, you can use a mobile Me account, and you can even email files to yourself and access them in your email. We kind of stilled it for a second so that I could go through that little speech, but I didn't know if we had enough time. And then you can manage your files. So in addition to downloading them, you can select them, and you get this menu here that gives you a lot of really interesting options. You can favorite it by starring. You can protect your file. You can by locking it. You can mark your file as unread. So whenever you open a file, notice the color of the file name is black. When it's unopened, the file name is actually blue. You can create a new folder to store your files. You can rename your files. You can email it. You can link it with an online server. You can open in a different program. So you had Dropbox, which had a different PDF reader, say iBooks, or something we're going to talk about later, iAnnotate. You can open it with a different PDF reader. So we're going to show an example of how to rename a file. So here we're renaming this antigen presentation, or antigen presenting cells PDF. We're going to name it the antigen. And something that's helpful in GoodReader is you actually put in. It's important to put in this .pdf, otherwise the app doesn't recognize the file, and you got to tell it that it's a PDF and you can open it. So this is the really neat component of GoodReader where you can actually look at and edit PDF files. So here's an example of adding in a note. And something that's really important is you get this box that pops up the first time you modify a file that asks you if you want to save your modifications to this file, or you can create an annotated copy. So if you have a file that you just want normal, you don't want to have your annotations on, you can create a secondary copy that you can use to mess with, draw on, do all kinds of really fun stuff. this case, we're going to select to save to this file. And you get a neat yellow pop-up box. You get a full screen keyboard. You get to type. You get to leave a note, and you can save your note. And it shows up as this little yellow call-out box. When you click on it, you get this pop-up box again that shows your note. What's neat here is you can edit your notes again by just touching here, and then the keyboard will pop back up, and you can add in more. You can delete. You can even clear your note. You can delete your note if you wanted to later.
So this is a lot like Adobe Acrobat Professional. It's just on an iPad.
Yeah. And what's neat is this. I mean, you can do this all right here. So when you're sitting in lecture, it's very discreet. It's not. You don't have your laptop open in front of you, not paying attention to the lecturer. And we're going to talk about it here in a second, how you can actually use it to view and edit, to really look at some of the nitty-gritty parts of slides that are kind of important. Sometimes you realize in medical school the little details shown in diagrams are actually very important. And something else that's neat is if you click on this and you hold, you can actually move the comment box anywhere you want to on the slide. And you can see it's really easy to navigate. You just slide your finger across to change slides. You can even click on the slide and it'll just automatically switch slides. You can pinch and zoom. And so a lot of times when we get printouts, this is something that we're really excited with a software similar to this, is that when we get printouts in our blocks, because we have an interest in saving paper and printing resources, a lot of times our slides are condensed onto 2x3 handouts. You get 6 slides per page. And a lot of this detail is lost. So a lot of the detail is lost in actually viewing it. A lot of this fine detail, and it's not just this. I mean, there's some pathways that were shown that are actually pixelated, and you can't see anything in the slide, the handout itself. And you lose a lot in trying to focus to what the presenter's pointing at and trying to write it down and trying to draw it better on your slide, where here you can just pinch and zoom and you've got it. Like it's a lot easier, and not only can you zoom and pinch, what we're going to show here in a second, is say this lecturer said this part of the slide was really important, you can zoom over and you can make a note there that'll show up later. And so not only are you making a note, but you're hearing the lecture in real-time talk. You can have your note, you can still see the diagram, which is very helpful in lecture. You can also navigate your PDFs on a hole on the side. You can highlight. We've shown a yellow highlight here. We're going to show an example of how to highlight. All you do is you hold your finger on a word. You get a little selection box. You slide the selection box to the desired, for what you want highlighted. You click highlight. When you have a pop-up box, you can delete your highlights to say you highlighted something you didn't need to highlight. There are other options too. You don't have to highlight. Here we have an example of an underline. So you can, again, select. And then when you are finished selecting, you get this pop-up box where you can select everything on the page, create a note. You click markup, you can underline. Here you can even change the color. So here we have a blue underline, and remember before we had a yellow highlight. If, say, you wanted to color code your notes, you can select, go to the highlight menu. Now it's yellow. You just click on it again. You click color, and you're presented with a color wheel. You can change it any color you want to. You can color code your notes. And you can even leave a note later, like we kind of left one in the beginning, but note the objective for the exam that was emphasized in lecture. And something else that's really neat about this is that a lot of people, so can you pause? A lot of people say that if we have a software like this, well, it's great that you can move, you can make notes, so that you can underline and highlight. But what about something really fast when you just want to circle something, or there's a lot of kinetic learning that's associated with writing and drawing. Well, Goodreader lets you do that. And here we have an example shown with a stylus. And you can use a stylus. In this case, you have a tiny microcapacitor shown in a little dot, or you can use your finger. So here we have an example of Class 3 MHC, not talked about at all on this slide. And the lecturer is mentioning it, and here we're writing out what you would normally write with a pen on a piece of paper, but it's saved digitally. What's also neat about this software is that it syncs with your computer, and you can view these edits on your laptop with preview available from MacBooks. You can see all of your edits. It's saved onto the document. You see your little notes as callouts on the side, kind of like if you were to track changes in a Microsoft Word document and you see your comments on the side.